always forget. Sweet. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another installment of your Health Made Simple's Autoimmune Webinar Series. My name is Tracy Gowler. I am the owner of Your Health Made Simple. I provide structured healing programs to women over 40 with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. My goal with this series is to offer modalities that are supportive to healing Hashimoto's thyroiditis and other autoimmune diseases, and to provide real people that have embarked on improving the way they live with Hashies to give you an idea of what the healing journey can require. And today, my guest is another one of my amazing clients. Beth Malcook has been working with me for about 1.5 years. She has Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Beth's been married to her husband Todd for almost 21 years, and she is a mom to 2 amazing children, Marilyn, 17, and Noah, almost 15. She's an Arbonne business owner and a wellness advocate for about 14 years, and she is a woman on a mission, and I do. Yes, she is, to empower people to live their healthiest and their best life by reaching their fullest potential. And I just want to add that she's pretty amazing. So Beth, welcome. Thank you so much for being here to talk with me about your healing journey. It's great having you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yeah. So I thought we might start, as I do with everyone that comes on here, basically to tell me a little bit about your history of your illness, if you don't mind.
Yeah, and so I think first and foremost, I just want to thank you for this opportunity to share my story. When I have information that I think can play a role in prevention or healing, I have and always have felt a responsibility to share it. So just like when I started to unveil all the lack of education and heavy marketing that plagues the US when it comes to understanding the impact that personal care products have on our bodies systemically, I also felt a really strong tug and responsibility to share my testimony today, even though it's really uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie, I'm like a little sweaty. But I know God has really called me to put aside my ego and share this information in the hopes that it can change a life or two or more, because I want women to know that they are not alone, right, as in never, and I want women to feel empowered always. So before I share my story, Tracy, I do want to thank you for the impact that you've had in my life and the impact that you are making in so many people's lives. I am so grateful for you. And, before I started working with Tracy, I had worked with 3 other functional medicine practitioners. And while they were great people and they all had, really great knowledge, I needed more personally in terms of my support. And I found that with Tracy. So I really adore and respect you.
So
I know,
much.
yes, I really do. And I know you have walked and do walk in our shoes and you understand the struggle, but I love that you don't allow your clients to become victim in those circumstances, because we just give our power away when we do that, right? So right. I admire you for being a truth speaker. I love that you're always thirsty to learn the information that we are all hungry to get and obtain. And I'm incredibly grateful for you.
Oh, so thank you. Oh, so much. I wasn't even expecting that. Like yeah, whew, that's a lot. And thank you.
I'm just so grateful that you've been brought into my life through another friend who you also changed their life. And I know many, many others. So
thank you. Appreciate that.
You.
Yeah.
So I guess a little bit about my journey. In 1998, I was actually diagnosed with Raynaud's. I was a student teacher, and I remember the room was like 70 degrees, and I was writing on the chalkboard. I'm like, why are my fingers white? Like, why are they numb? And I saw a rheumatologist pretty quickly and was told I had Raynaud's. That was it. A little bit about it being autoimmune, but that was pretty much it. It was 1998, and I have had good days with that. I've had bad days. I'm the only mom on the soccer field that wears gloves when it's under 65. But I see that the impact of that has to do with levels of inflammation in my body. So sometimes I see improvement and sometimes not. But prior to that, I did deal with IBS for about 5 years on and off, mainly because I mistreated my body in several ways from the age of like 18 to 20. I struggled with anorexia, and I had depression and anxiety, and I self-medicated a lot with alcohol, and I'm not sure which came first, but I was a disaster. And then at around the age of 20, I started to heal. But that takes a long time, right? And I dealt with the physical and emotional ramifications of that for a very long time. And I'm not sure that I'm not seeing the ramifications of that in my body, to be honest, still. So when I was 20, I started to run, and it brought me strength, and it made me feel powerful. And I probably gave up one addiction, starving myself for another one, long distance running, but it made a difference for me because I had to fuel my body. I couldn't destroy my body, and I had to do things differently to reach goals I had. And in a sense, it saved me. It really did. But I also learned in 1998, when I was in graduate school, still a major perfectionist, when I was struggling with major anxiety, that I did not tolerate medications very well. I tried to go on Celebrex to help, and I had a horrible, horrible reaction to it. And that probably should have been my first awareness that my body doesn't process drugs, alcohol, or other substances very well. And I had a great psychiatrist that just said, listen, these things are not going to be good for you. You need to continue your physical exercise for your mental health. And so for 22 years, I have worked out 5 to 6 days a week, kind of like brushing my teeth. And I think the only problem is, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, is I'm also very competitive. So it has been a kind of workout that's always been extremely taxing for my body, and continuing to push myself, but more on that later. I'd say overall, I've had very few medical issues in my lifetime. I had spinal meningitis when I was 2, kind of a big one. Thank God my mom caught that pretty early on because it saved my life. I had strep throat a couple times when I was a kid. I had a pneumonia when I was in college as a freshman, but I think that's kind of common for perfectionists who majors in getting straight A's, working 3 jobs, and partying. When I was, in 2005, in a really stressful time of my life, personally and professionally, I had shingles. But I was pretty good until like November of 2009, when I got pneumonia again, followed by pneumonia again in March of 2010, and strep throat in September 2010, which is no joke for an adult. I always joke, like, God wants to slow me down, he'll knock me down because I'm not a good listener. So when I would get sick, I would get sick, right? But I rarely had a cold. I had some sinus infections, but once I cut dairy out of my diet, I didn't have those anymore. I had a couple painful viruses in my throat, but really, outside of this kind of up and down battle with Hashimoto's, I have been pretty healthy, right? And then when my diagnosis came in 2016, that was when I felt like was at this point where I wasn't feeling as healthy anymore. First, if it's okay, Tracy, I want to address my decision to get breast implants in the first place before I talk about what kind of led me to all this. Okay. So I would say, if I was honest, that my thoughts around getting implants probably started my freshman year in high school. So 30 years ago, right? That's when I really started to hate my little boobs. I don't think my dad's going to watch this because but it hit me really hard in my early 20s. And I remember my mom telling me that no one would ever love me for just the size of my breasts. And thank God for my husband of 21 years, because clearly he married me for other reasons. But she always constantly reminded me that God made me perfectly the way I was. And I wish I had believed her, So fast forward to 2013, 10 years after breastfeeding and pumping for 2 babies. And all of the women watching this, you know where I'm going with this, right? South. So not only were my boobs really small, I was joked they were like rocks, heavy rocks in the bottom of teeny tiny ankle socks, right? I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't like the way my dresses fit. I didn't like that my belly stuck out more than my chest. Of course, there were other incredible things that my body did for me, including the ability to breathe and walk and see and exercise and birth 2 miracles and run long distances. But my personal and emotional growth at that point in my life did not allow me to see that. So I was too tunnel focused on the size of my boobs, right? Or what my body wasn't doing for me, or what I wasn't enough with. And, I don't think we really value things until we don't have them anymore. And I was so focused on these dang boobs that That's all I saw. So I got implants, right? I joined an average of 300,000 other women annually
Right.
in the United States alone that do it.
It's an incredible number.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I want to give a little history on this because it's really, really incredible when you think the millions and millions of women that have electively done this,
Yeah.
because it is the most popular elective surgery in the US. Right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'm not talking reconstruction. I'm talking elective plastic surgery.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so it seemed like a great idea at the time. And of course, I thought it was going to make me feel more confident and better about my body. And let's be clear, I did not get big implants, right? Many people didn't even know them if I had them. In fact, when I told my kids I was getting this explant, my daughter was like, "Oh, okay, I didn't know you had them." And my son was so confused because I think he plays a little bit too much Call of Duty, and he like looking like, I'm like, "No," and he goes, "Wait, I'm so confused. You have them?" I'm like, "Yes," and I was like, "Noah, not everyone's like a cartoon character." So, um, but they made me feel more feminine and proportional, and they actually went the right direction, and I looked great in a bikini,
Right.
right? They didn't change my heart. They
No.
didn't change my character, and I didn't feel like Superwoman all of a sudden. But I'm not gonna lie to anyone today watching this, I did like them. So,
Right.
um, but the problem is my body didn't like them, right? And they
Right.
didn't belong to my body, and God had not given them to me, and my body reacted to them. And okay, I am not implying that if anybody's watching this and you have implants or that you want implants, that that's a God issue. That is not what I'm saying. I also realize that with breast reconstruction, this is a common practice, and I respect the highly sensitive nature of this topic.
Yes.
Um, my only mission here is to educate, and I can only do that from my experience. My body reacted to them because of an underlying medical predisposition that I had that did not make me a good candidate for them at all, ever. And I
Right.
can talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
So December 2013, I get them. December of 2015, I kind of came to this point that I had not been feeling well for a while, and I started to try to self-advocate for what was wrong for me.
Right.
I had so many different symptoms. I couldn't think clear. I
Yeah.
stopped going to the bathroom regularly, and by regularly, I mean like ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, my skin was dry. My mouth was dry. I couldn't stand any light. My photosensitivity was so bad. I wear sunglasses on cloudy days. If you've ever had your eyes pupils dilated, that's what it felt like this light that I have coming into my office right now. No way, Jose, I'd have to have sunglasses on.
Oh my
um,
goodness.
my neck and back were constantly in knots and cracked when I would try to turn my head. Like I couldn't move my head in any direction. I couldn't run anymore. I had no stamina. um, and I remember I'd run this 200-mile relay, and then I'd run a half marathon my 40th birthday year, and I got home and it was it. I couldn't run 2 miles. I was exhausted.
Oh,
I was always cold.
yeah.
I couldn't focus on anything or anyone, and people are like my currency,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it made me feel so disconnected and lonely. Um, and I wouldn't say I was unmotivated, but I would say that my intrinsic kind of vitality, energy, and kind of life in me was slowly fading. Like my flame was going out. My adrenals were shot along with my cortisol, and my hormones were wacky, right?
Yeah.
So from 2015 until I met the amazing Tracy, I'm not going to go into the slew and battery of tests I did. I mean, and all the time and money I spent on
Yeah.
functional medicine visits, saliva tests, cheek swabs, DNA tests, genetic testing, trips to specialists, ultrasounds, body scans,
Right.
massages, acupuncture, chiropractic care. All of these people were valuable, incredible, and an important part of the process for me to find an answer, but the answers were not there. They just kept getting bigger. Like, what the heck is wrong? So even though I had had a friend 4 years prior mention, like, maybe it's your implants, I totally blew her off because my pride was so big. I didn't want that to be the problem, right? So I kept spending more time and more money and taking more supplements. And and the answer was right below my nose, like literally under my pec muscle. So, Tracy is the person who really helped me go through this process. And she was one of the only people, because I had mentioned it to my 2 functional medicine doctors. And one of them was like, I think she had them. So she's like, absolutely, that is not your problem. Right. And when I said it to Tracy, she was so accepting and said, like, yeah, this is a big deal. This is going to be a big surgery. Like, let's go through this process of elimination and figure out if that's truly what it is.
Yeah.
So you have the courage to do it, right? And exhaust all other variables. And so I'm so thankful for you, Tracy, for
Oh,
that.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You have made some incredible choices in this journey of healing, and you've been at it a long time. And this search for answers, which I think is a common theme for a lot of us that end up with an autoimmune disease or more than one autoimmune disease. And because we were at it for so long, things just keep piling up and piling up and piling up. And then on top of it, you have the additional symptoms and issues with the implants. But you have made some other decisions in your journey that I do want to talk about. And the way that you exercise is one of them. And I would like to talk about that first before we dive further into the enbloc procedure.
Yeah.
But let's talk about why you chose to make some choices around your exercising.
Yeah. I mean, I think because I had up to that point been treated for the Hashimoto's, EBV. We had addressed some liver things and talked about the MTHFR, SIBO, all those things. You really educated me around the impact that kind of pushing my body was having when I think my body's probably always pushing itself, right? And so I really made some adjustments. What I did, I was looking at what I was doing before we started working together. I was doing like 5 to 6 days of high intensity interval training before we started working together. And it was, my heart rate would be between, I'm 40, almost 45 this year. So my heart rate would be between 180 up to over 200 at some points for 45 minutes. Like you taught me a lot about like more is not necessarily better, right? For everyone's bodies. So I switched, I progressively, because I also was getting more tired. Like I was actually able to do less the longer I was pushing myself at this rate. So now I do 30 minutes of kind of, I would say low to high intensity. I kind of monitor my body and how I feel. Sometimes I'll do like 45 minutes, but it's in like more in the lower impact kind of target. But that's less days than more. I also do like Pilates more and strength training more. So I have found different ways to exercise that isn't putting myself in a disadvantage and to hurt my body more than heal it, right?
Right. Yeah. And I honestly so proud of you for that, because I know how important exercise is to you. And the way you were exercising was also really important. So it's been some big decisions that
Yeah.
I feel you've had in this healing journey. And I think it's made a difference.
Yeah.
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 So with all the things that we've tackled during our time together, you were still struggling with symptoms and your numbers weren't coming down as much as you would have liked. And we did get your antibody numbers under 300. And I don't want to speak for you, but you seem to feel better, although you still had bloating and other symptoms, right? And we also did a liver detox, which gave you some good improvement, but there were still some symptoms hanging around, which was when we started having this conversation about the enbloc removal. And the proper name for that actually is a bilateral periprosthetic capsulectomy enbloc, and I hope I said that right.
You did.
And for the people listening, an enbloc is when the breast implant is removed along with the capsule that it's contained within. And it isn't always possible to do the full enbloc, but you were able to. And that's a huge decision. And it wasn't an easy surgery. And I'm going to throw your picture up here in just a sec while you talk through that. Maybe you've talked a little bit about the choice, but the procedure and maybe some of the things that you went through might be, something that people would be interested in, if you don't mind. I'm going to throw your
Yeah.
picture up
And
here.
are you okay with if I just quickly talk about some of the symptoms? Because I do think the symptoms, and you can go to Healing by Nicole.
Yep.
Um, oh gosh, what is that resource? I'll pull it up. But she has a really awesome compilation of all these different resources together. And some of it is just looking at a lot of symptoms. And so many women are told, oh, that's in your head. Oh, that's because you're aging. Oh, that's because, you are working full time and you've got these kids. And it's all a bunch of baloney.
Right.
So some of the symptoms can be like various rheumatology signs and symptoms: fatigue, exhaustion, joint pain,
Yeah.
swelling, muscle cramps, rashes. I had that. I had pityriasis rosea. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Um, oh yeah,
I'm just going to blow
that's the
this up.
explant. Yeah.
If
Um,
it'll let me blow it up a little bit. Are you
yeah.
able, you're able to see it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
am. I was just going to try to pull my notes up just a second. So yeah, you can see. So that's actually, I'm going to go into really quick kind of, I guess, what that is actually, because what happened for me is I had all these symptoms: the hypothyroid, the Hashimoto's, unexplained liver issues,
Yeah.
skin rashes on my torso, low libido, MTHFR, the adrenal fatigue, the hormone imbalance, the weight gain, the brain fog, all of the stuff.
Right.
EBV, I had been tested positive for, dryness, this photosensitivity, gut permeability, metabolic issues in the scapula and the back tightening. So all of these symptoms, even though ironically that this is not recognized as a true illness,
Yeah.
women need to be warned, because to me, you know, it's an alarming problem when you have millions of women that have had this surgery electively. Because even I asked my plastic surgeon about, I have an autoimmune disease, I told him.
Yeah.
Is putting this in my body, hello, I already knew. I knew I wouldn't have asked the question, right?
Right.
Is putting
Right.
this in my body going to be a problem? No, 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 no. They're completely safe,
Oh,
right? So if you think about the fact that, I got to pull this number up and then I'll share what that explant process is. But 3,244,793 women have had this elective surgery in the last decade.
oh, that's
Yeah,
huge.
yeah. It's reported that 10 million women in the US alone have breast implants presently.
Yeah.
So if the small risk of, complications is 1.4 to 2%, that's considered small risk, right? That
But
means if 10 million women have implants, 140 to 200,000 women don't feel good right now.
right. That's insane, right? But for all the people that have had this surgery, that's 30%. If 3 million women have had this elective surgery to remove them, that's 30%. Did I get that right?
If let's see, 3 million women have had the elective surgery in the last 10 years to get implants.
Oh, to get implants. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So, gosh, so that's over 100,000 women that don't feel well. And it is called breast implant illness. Yeah.
Yes,
You
yes,
can Google it. Yeah.
yeah. And there's one company, Allergen, voluntarily recalled their textured implants because it is 100% linked to a rare form of cancer called
Oh my God.
anaplastic large cell lymphoma.
Oh,
But yet we still are debating as to whether or not these are possibly making people sick.
oh
So,
my goodness.
um, and I'm going to talk really quickly about the enbloc, but I think if I had known what was happening to my body other than the language that this plastic surgeon used, I would never have gotten these.
Right.
So what happened was I saw a surgeon in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. I waited 6 months to see her, and that was perfect because Tracy and I were ironing some things out, right? Because it's not a simple surgery. Actually, it's invasive and it's a lot to decide around. So I had 6 months to wait to get into her. So I had 6 months to really kind of weigh all my options.
Yeah.
What happens when you do this enbloc, if you can still see the picture, is like Tracy described, they go in and they microvascularly remove the capsule, and they also then take the implant out with it. And the reason that you want to have a knowledgeable surgeon with history in this, and also an expertise in it and a respect for BII, is that you can't just go in, cut the capsule, take the implant out. The capsule is actually what's protecting your body and actually has some of the toxins in it, right? So what they did for me is, and what they don't tell you is that when you get plastic surgery and implants underneath your pec muscle, they essentially fillet your pec muscle. It's not attached anymore, which explains why it's hard to do pull-ups or push-ups, right? But this capsule, this hard kind of callus tissue that you see, it forms within 2 weeks. It starts to form because it's protecting our bodies from the 40 different soupy chemicals that are inside these implants. And even if they're not permeable, saying that they're not leaking, they say they're not permeable, but they are, because a lot of times when women get them out, there's actually different things inside the capsule or inside the implant, mold and other things, right? So you can tell that things have exchanged between the actual implant and the body. So for me, this capsule, then they were microvascularly removed from my third, fourth, and fifth rib because it kind of contracted to the intercostal muscles. So you can see the capsule and the implant in the image, which is why I can breathe better. My pulmonary tests with this doctor, they do these pulmonary tests. I was breathing at like an 86% capacity. And she said, well, that's why you can't run, because you're not getting a full breath, because when you breathe in, the capsule's attached to these muscles. It constricts your breathing, right? Yeah, it's crazy. Like if they would have said, hey, by the way, we're going to fillet your muscle. We're going to put this under. Your muscle's never going to attach, even though I said to him, I'm super athletic. I don't want anything to change. Oh, no, you're fine. Then all the muscles in your back and neck are going to have to compensate for the fact that now your muscle has absolutely no strength because we've cut it. Right. And you have these capsules that are on the front of your chest now that you weren't born with. So now everything's going to compensate for that, right? So then what happens is when they take this out, they have to microvascularly remove it. And so there's a risk of bleeding and everything. They have to then repair your chest muscle.
Oh my goodness.
Right? So, I mean, thank God, unlike some of my friends, I didn't have lymph node involvement or indication of mold. I had a couple abnormal tests come back with the labs, but on the second test, they were fine. This isn't the case for every woman, right? Some women get really sick. So, that's that process. The healing process is pretty intense because you've had microvascular surgery and you have a high risk of bleeding. So you can't lift anything or move your arms really for 4 weeks. Like you have to have your arms to your side for 2 weeks. You can't lift anything over 5 pounds for 4 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
You can't run or do anything like that because you don't want to damage this surgery, right? But I'll talk really quick how I felt when I woke up, and then I want to talk a little bit about the physical stuff, if that's okay, Tracy, if we have time.
Oh, that's great. Do you want me to throw up your before and after, like the 2 hours before, 2 hours after? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. There we go. Can you see it?
Yep.
Perfect.
So, like I said, I explanted this last September. And that picture on the top, I believe, is 2 hours before. And then on the bottom is literally like 2 hours after the surgery. So this surgeon is amazing. She uses this kind of like organic kind of anesthesia in the sense that you don't wake up foggy or groggy. She actually doesn't give you pain meds. I was on Tylenol and I couldn't take Celexa. That's a anti-inflammatory, right?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I confuse Celexa and Celebrex sometimes. One's an antidepressant, one's an anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
I couldn't take that. So I took the Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol and Arnica, because she's all about like natural things and never had problem waking up. Never was given pain medication or anything like that, which is huge, especially for someone with leaky gut.
Yes. Right.
Or probably what started part of my problem, right?
Yeah.
But I woke up with like this immediate ability to breathe.
Oh my gosh. It must have felt amazing.
It was amazing. And you can see the white of my eyes.
Yes.
I could see crisper. It was almost like I had contacts in.
Yeah.
The photosensitivity went away. I didn't feel dehydrated, like I'd been in a desert for days. You can actually see the inflammation difference in my
You
nose and the bridge of my nose.
You can. It's amazing to me just looking at these pictures. The white of the eyes stands out more than anything, but just the inflammation in your eyelids and the puffiness under your eyes, it's all cleared up. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
And it's interesting because if you are someone with implants or know someone with implants, there's a really great Facebook page. It's also the Breast Implant Healing by Nicole. And then a lot of the surgeons have their own private Facebook. But the eye thing is probably one of the number one things that people talk about. Like they are immediately their whites of their eyes got whiter, right?
Yeah.
What I didn't know before getting implants, obviously, was that I was at risk of them poisoning me because I also have a methylation gene disorder called MTHFR. So I was never a good candidate for these to begin with. And the surgeon told me that people with MTHFR never do good, right? Because that's why some women have problems and some don't.
Yeah.
Some have them for weeks and they get symptoms right away and they get really sick. And some of them don't have symptoms show up for years. Again, this isn't about what is right or wrong. This is just about being educated, right? And when we know better, we do better.
Right.
And it's information that I wish I had been given 6 years ago when I was considering this surgery.
Right.
So I guess a lot of women are concerned about explanting because of the deformity that they think it'll cause their body.
Yeah.
I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit concerned about this, but what I'm going to say is that I knew I was in amazing hands.
Yes.
And really, for the first time in my life, I was less concerned about what I was going to look like and more concerned about how I was going to live
Right.
the rest of my life, to be fully present with my family, my friends, my team.
Yes.
They were getting about 60% of me, and I think they get about 80, 85 now. I can't wait till I'm fully healed. And when I saw my results, I honestly can tell you, it was like the first time I actually really fell in love with my body.
Oh,
Um, I didn't know what it felt like to love yourself and your body before that. And it took me 44 years to figure that out, right? But I am incredibly grateful because um, the ability to breathe and the ability to just accept yourself the way you are and actually be grateful is important. Now, that being said, a lot of plastic surgeons will give women lifts. I had nothing to lift, and that's okay. But they will give women lifts, and those women are like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. Some women have damage to their tissue because some have more contracture. Women that get them on top of the muscle, it might be different than under. It's all different, but that's why I think if you're considering this, you really need to go to a knowledgeable and experienced professional. I interviewed a couple people locally because I thought Cleveland, Ohio, holy cow, that's far away. But I didn't want someone that did 200 of them in 5 years. I wanted someone that did 200 of them in like 6 months. You know what I mean?
yes. Right. And can you see the 2 hours post surgery, 4 days?
Yeah, let me pull it up.
Can you,
Yep.
you can see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Even your skin and the white of your eyes, and it's just incredible to me,
Yeah.
the before and after. And if ladies, anybody watching, you can just Google breast implant illness. These pictures are out there all
Mhm.
over the internet. Everybody is the same, you know? It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just so impressed with what you've chosen for yourself. And actually, in some of the research that I've done, knowing that Beth was going to go through this, what happens in the body is that when you do get implants, it develops a biofilm around the implant to help contain it as a means of keeping your body healthy, or its best means of trying to keep your body healthy. But just in doing that, and for it to create that biofilm, it already is responding in a way that is stressing your body because it feels like there's something there that shouldn't be there.
Right.
Yeah. So did you want to walk us through the differences,
Yeah.
in the way you felt after surgery, and maybe some of the other things that your doctor did to help your body detox?
Yeah. And I will say, Tracy, to that point, some people will say, well, maybe saline is different than silicone, but the casing of the saline, even though the saline is saline, the casing is still the
Right.
same material that makes up the silicone. So it's kind of, it's a moot point. Like most people that have these symptoms, they could be big or small, they could be saline or silicone. Like that doesn't seem to make a difference. What makes a difference is that allergen type has actually been contributing to this only one kind of cancer people can get, and that's obviously caused by that implant. So let's see. You asked me a little bit about the work that I did pre-surgery. Now, because I've been on this Hashimoto's journey, and because I'm also an educator in health and wellness, like I have been eating pretty clean since 2015. Like I figured out pretty quickly, like I gotta pull this together, you know? And since I've been working with Tracy for a year and a half now, and 9 months leading up to my surgery, like I felt more prepared for this than about 90% of the women that I was meeting. And I'm so grateful for that, because so many of them were trying to incorporate all these habit changes 2 weeks before their surgery to kind of gear themselves up. And I was incredibly prepared. And that's a combination of the autoimmune protocol, eating healthy and clean for years, for the most part, leading into it. You know, a lot of the things that you supported me with my liver detox, and you know, a lot of the things I did with the glutathione and all these other things. I truly believe in my heart of heart that that's what helped me recover so fast. So when you have the surgery, you do have to have drains in, and the level of liquid that comes out of these drains in 2 different spots from your breast indicate when you can get them out. And it was unheard of. I had my surgery on Wednesday. I could have gotten them out on Friday, which they had never seen, but they wouldn't even allow, we don't have a protocol for that. You have to get them out on Saturday. So that was really indicative of the, you know, where my body was at. I also did a couple foot spa detoxes. This surgical center is a spa, a medical spa. I did 3 hyperbaric chamber treatments, and I would highly recommend that if you have this surgery that you find someone that can help you with that, because I do think that really helped with my healing as well. And then obviously I've continued to work with Tracy. You know, I've done a lot of damage to my body in the last 6 years. And previous to that, I don't know that I respected it really well either. So I have years of stuff to do and learn, but I feel so much better because, you know, 9 months later, I have full movement of my back, my pecs. I can take a deep breath, which is so crazy. My shoulders are better. My neck is better. Again, not perfect because they've been compensating for about 6 years, right? My mind is clear, and I'm actually struck by this almost every day because I can remember things and be way more crisp when I'm working and coaching people as a leader. And life's not great when you feel like there's wax paper covering it, you know? And my chest is flat, and I'm okay with that, you know? And it's and the swimming suit and a bralette and a bra, I feel fine with like a sports bra. I feel fine, you know. I will say I've struggled because I'm a last minute girl. So when I was like, oh, I want to go out to eat, and I go to put on like a cami that I wore like a year ago, it doesn't quite fit the same. So I need to go shopping. I've had a couple pity parties for myself, but I flush pretty quick and move on. And I think out of every day, I'm not the woman with the self-confidence that I even had 12 months ago, let alone 6 years ago. And, you know, I have 2 amazing teenagers. My daughter, and I think I had typed that up to you, Tracy, her name is Madeline, but it's spelled like Marilyn with a D. So I botched her name when I gave you her name, but
I'm sorry.
that's okay. No, it's Madeline. She's 17. My son's going to be 15, and we have had good discussions about body image,
Yes.
society, boy, girl. It doesn't matter. We all deal with it. And what this has set me up is to be a mom who talks about hard things, right? And I know my daughter will never get implants because she saw I actually wanted her in the OR to really scare her. But she has seen, you know, what this did. So yeah.
Yeah, it had it. And actually, Beth was actually texting me while she's sitting and got her feet soaking after the surgery and sending me pictures of the color of the water, right? Wasn't it crazy?
Oh, gross. It was so gross.
So through her feet are detoxing her body in this water. And she was sending me pictures as the water is changing colors. It was just incredible. I know, it was kind of like, oh, that's all coming out of your body. And we thought through all the work we'd done that she was pretty clean. But it's just, it's a testament to what the implants can do, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So a couple of things that I did want to mention, like we still, in some of our conversations that we've had recently, we've still got some work that we're doing because we've got some additional tests that we're working through right now. We are, checking to make sure that Beth isn't hanging on to any heavy metals that might need eradicating. We're also evaluating her microbiome in comparison to a healthy population to make sure that we're supporting it the right way. And right now, the goal is to get her antibody numbers down as low as we can. But as we talked in, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we had a session with Marisa, who is a trauma counselor, but at the same time, she also has Hashimoto's, and we were talking about, and she also has celiac disease, the fact that the body, because we're sick for so long, it moves to a new homeostasis. And even though despite we're doing everything right, once we reach a certain place, the body's going to start to move a lot slower to move off of that homeostasis that it's been at for a very long time. So, I think you can see like Beth's energy is quite incredible, and it's different, very different from when we first started working together. So once we get to this point, we're also focusing on how she feels, but we're still going to continue to do the work to make sure that we're cleaning up everything we possibly can. And then it's the body's, takes it from there and starts to make its small shifts. Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience about your healing journey?
I mean, I think you have to become an advocate for yourself. I have always believed in kind of disrupting people's complacency through education because my life changed when someone that did that for me. And I think there was a period in my life where I don't know that I would have taken the time or spent the money to try to heal because I don't think I understood the influence and impact that my health had on other people, right? And these changes are not inexpensive, but it wasn't an inexpensive choice to get the implants in the first place. You know what I mean? Like we all prioritize different things, and I think we need to prioritize ourselves, and I know I'm probably mainly speaking to women because of the topic today, but don't accept okay for your life. Like if you don't feel good, be on a mission to figure out what's going on. Don't let somebody tell you how you should feel, or if on a piece of paper, because I heard for years on a piece of paper, you're fine. I'm like, but I don't feel fine.
Right.
And I'm not going to accept less than the best. And I'm not going to take my age and make it an excuse for not having vitality and not feeling good. And so I'm so thankful, Tracy, that I caught you in this video for my company, and I was just like taken back. I'm like, I need to work with this woman. Like I need to work with this woman, because it's one thing to be like, okay, here's what the tests are, now go figure it out. It's another thing to have somebody kind of dissect things with you and take this holistic approach to looking at how you're functioning, not just what the tests say, because we gotta listen to people.
Yeah.
And we have to listen to ourselves. And when we don't feel good, we have to do something about it. Right. So yeah, that would be my message, because I don't think we need to accept less than feeling and living our best life. And that's how I strongly feel that.
Me too, which is why I think I attract so many clients like you, but you are definitely up there at the top with somebody that just is on a mission, right? To not just accept mediocrity or feeling like shit, really, because we know better. Like our bodies are talking to us all the time, and so many people just accept where we are for so many reasons.
Mhm.
And that isn't my best life. That's not your best life. Like there's so much more. So thank you. I really, really appreciate you being on here and sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Um, but lastly, I just want to let everyone that's interested, anyone that's interested in starting their Hashi's healing journey, I always recommend shakes for breakfast every day. And Beth has a business with some really amazing products to help you get started the right way. And I myself used Arbonne shakes and actually started my healing process with their 30-day program using the shakes. And it, I wanted to say that it changed my life, but I do want to change that wording. I think I want to say that it saved my life, because in that moment when I made the choice and I had my no more, like I was done, I was tired, this is where I came. And it literally took me from really wondering if my quality of life was, this is all it was ever going to be, just somebody who had energy and vitality again. And I really give that to these products. So although I don't sell Arbonne in my business, I do speak highly of their products. So Beth, if there was someone that was interested in getting in touch with you to find out more, how would they do that?
Aw, I love that, Tracy. And I know when we create different habits and we fuel our body differently, we like get different results, right?
Right. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share that. Well, I'm on Facebook under Beth Malcook, Malcook. My dad loves to joke that mal means bad in Spanish and cook, and that's kind of me, bad cook, mal cook. Also on Instagram, and my email is pretty easy too. It's bethmalcook@gmail.com. And Tracy, I am happy to, if you're going to post this, I have put a huge group of lists and resources together for the BII stuff too. So I'm happy to send that to you as an easy place for people just to click. If you want me to do that in the comments section below this video or whatever, I'm happy to offer those resources too.
Yeah, no problem. And I think what I'll do is when I put this onto the YouTube channel, the other thing that I'll do is down in the comments below, give them a link that I'll post, as a blog onto my website so that they can come to that and get your information there as well. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, this has been such an incredible amount of information. And I know how hard this can be, like sharing your story, but I really appreciate your bravery, because the ability to change just even one person's life, right?
Right.
So important. So thank you for being here. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I adore you, so thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, we'll be back next Tuesday. I'm bringing Travis Rumsey on, and Travis is actually, he's got several modalities that support healing, but one of the big things we're going to talk about is trauma and tension release exercise, which is a means of stress relief. But he also has a lot of work that he's doing with sonic healing, meaning like sound baths and things like that. So we're going to dive into some of that kind of stuff next Tuesday. But everybody that's here, thank you. Beth, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate this webinar series and everyone that's here. And everyone, have a fabulous day. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.